The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
I saw a pale horse.
The beast.
We're told in the book of Revelation.
This is not a human child.
Isn't an angel?
Satan.
Armageddon is almost upon us.
Order the use of nuclear weapons.
The world is a fine place and worth fighting for.
From one end of the world to the other, I will oppose you.
They're here.
Welcome to the end of the world.
Wrestling not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. This is P.I.D. Radio.
From a ridge high above the beautiful Missouri Ozarks, greetings and welcome to P.I.D. Radio. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert, and welcome to our humble bunker, everybody. We're really glad you're here this weekend. Today's April 15th, middle of the month.
Tax day.
Tax day.
Well, that's tomorrow.
Although,
because today's 15th.
Yeah, I think it's either tomorrow or Tuesday. Might even be Tuesday. I don't know. You know, most of these guys take Mondays off, so.
So anyway, yeah. Hey, so we got that going for us.
Exactly.
Extra 24 hours. Yay.
Woot.
Oh, yes. Well, plenty going on. Today will probably be a shorter program.
I'm tired.
Well, Sharon's been up a long time today. She's been working real hard. Both of us right now kind of under deadlines. Somewhat self-imposed, but still trying really hard to get books finished.
Sam says there's your problem. Calling it a deadline.
Yeah, I'm going to call it a live line.
Yeah,
and it'll be
you'll be much happier.
A little reference to the television program Millennium. We're working on getting manuscripts for new books done, and really trying to get them done by the end of the month so that we don't have that hanging over us while we're on the road going to Israel. And that's coming up quick. That's just 3 weeks from yesterday is when we fly to New York.
Crazy fast. We're really looking forward to it. But I'm on the second edit of Realms of Stone, which is before the Red Wing saga. And I'm trying very hard to get it to the layout guy, Kevin Summers, love you, bud, by the 25th.
Okay. Well, you're probably on better track than I am to get my goal, which is get the first draft of the manuscript done and at least start on the editing in the week before we head out to the week before we head out to New York.
That's easy for you to say.
Yeah, I know. Just brain is thinking. It's like, start thinking of how much have I got to done.
Smoke was coming out of your ears.
Gears grinding. Yeah. But I'm at about 65,000 words, so I'm getting close enough to the finish line that I can probably see it from where I'm at if I look up.
Just make a bunch of stuff up.
Sure, why not? That's what
Cut and paste, buddy.
Critics will say about it anyway.
Just steal some stuff from Josh Peck. He won't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really want you to buy these two books together because if you haven't already got The Great Inception, then you're missing something that needs to be on your shelf.
Well, that's my hope, is that it's something that helps make the spiritual war that we're a part of more real. Mm-hmm. It's really, and there's stuff that's out there. The research is there. It's just, most of it is coming from a secular perspective. And the guys who are doing it just don't understand that they don't get what they're looking at because of their worldview, mm-hmm. or it just won't let them go there, or because they're in an academic setting where going there would be dangerous for their career.
Yeah, the funny thing is they would probably say the same thing about us. Well, they're biased by their religious beliefs. Yeah. They're not seeing the truth of the scientific paradigm.
Yeah, it only works one way, apparently. You can look at the evidence and reach a conclusion, but if it's not their conclusion, it's because you're biased and you're starting with a preconceived conclusion.
The fact is, we all start with preconceived conclusions. That's the nature of human
Well, we all have
life.
biases, yeah. But like I said, it only seems to work one direction. And if you come to a conclusion that, there's a supernatural realm and you start, anyway. A lot going on in the news. This kind of I wasn't really surprised that it happened when it did. It happened after hours Friday. Oftentimes when the government or the elites want to have something happen that they don't really want to be the focus of the evening news, mm-hmm. They'll wait until after 5 p.m. Friday to announce it or to do something. And that's what happened with the missile strike against Syria. And, be honest, I was kind of disappointed that it happened because I really, really skeptical of the claims that have been made and the blame that's been assigned to the government of Bashar Assad for the deaths that took place in Duma.
But I wasn't the least bit surprised it happened, though, because the rhetoric has been getting more and more vociferous between Russia, United States, among, I should say, the three nations, Russia, United States, and England. And much of it stemmed from the attack a couple of weeks ago against Skripal and his daughter.
Right.
And now that tale has started to unravel, we're seeing another story about a former cyber decoder from MI6 who died in 2010.
Yeah.
And now it's being said, well, he was murdered. And he definitely was murdered. You don't die of natural causes inside a holdall, which essentially is a gym bag.
Yeah.
You don't crawl in and say, think I'll stay in here until I die.
Yeah. I'm going to play a trick on my...
I'll jump out when he gets home.
Yeah. When the cat comes by, I'll jump out of the bag and really freak him out. No, you're right. That is really bizarre. The story's unraveling. The nerve agent that was supposed to have killed, was supposed to have been used against the Skripals. Apparently, Yulia is out of the hospital, but she's not talking to anybody. Sergei is recovering. Yeah. She's been muzzled. The Russians are saying she's basically been kidnapped by the UK government. But this deadly military-grade Novichok nerve agent, military-grade, this is supposed to be extremely, extremely deadly. The story is that it was put on their doorknob of his flat,
I know.
Or something.
There
and
are
yet
lots...
they were well enough that they could kind of walk downtown, have a leisurely meal, and then go before collapsing on that bench.
Oh, I know. And that the first responders also grew ill.
Right.
And one of them was in hospital for several days.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
So the source of the contamination was on the doorknob, and yet it lingered upon their clothing enough that those in the restaurant was shut up for days, and restaurant goers were told, if anybody's sick, come in and let us know. Now, I realized at that point, theoretically, no one knew what was going on, but we were told within 24 hours that Porton Down knew what the agent was.
Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson made that claim explicitly, said, I was told by experts at Porton Down. Well, then the CEO of Porton Down came out and said, which, by the way, is only like 10 minutes, 15 minutes away from Salisbury. It's very close.
Oh, yeah.
That's sort of like the place where the Brits do their chemical weapons testing and analysis. And anyway, he came out and said, no, we never said that. We cannot trace the origin of the nerve agent. And now an independent Swiss laboratory is saying that it wasn't Novichok at all. It was something called BZ, which is never produced in Russia, but has been in service in the US, UK, and other states in NATO. So what's the truth? This is all an information war. And I know that there are some sites that are putting out information contrary to the official story, but that doesn't mean that those stories are necessarily true either.
No, that's true. Here's the other thing is that the Daily Mail, which is anti-May, anti-Trump, has been trumpeting the success of the airstrikes in Syria, saying that, yes, nice pictures showing that they took down, they being the allies, took down the chemical production for this agent. And it was the chemical plant that produced the gas that was used in the attack in Syria. So the rhetoric it's out of control.
It is. The only source of information for the original attack, which was April 7th, were the white helmets.
The attack in Syria.
In Syria. And there are some serious questions about the objectivity of the white helmets.
When you say white helmets, for our listeners that aren't familiar.
They're an aid organization that's been an NGO, non-government organization, financed by the West, who have been portrayed as heroic civilians who rush into areas where first responders usually fear to tread and rescue people. But there are others saying, well, the white helmets seem to have an extraordinary track record. For example, I was watching a video out of the UK the other day, an alternative news program similar to, say, InfoWars, but without all the screaming and yelling, more refined and restrained as Brits tend to be. But an independent journalist on the ground in Duma, a woman whose name escapes me now. And I'll make a note to link to this in the notes because it's worth seeing. But during this program, they asked her about an interview she had done with a government official in Duma. And again, bearing in mind that this is an information war and we have no way to vet or verify either side of this story, we're simply presenting this as something other than what you're probably seeing on CNN, MSNBC, or Fox, that the government in Damascus said, look, isn't it curious that these white helmets knew exactly, in the rescue video that they showed from like a helmet cam, that they rush into this building and immediately go to the spot where a child is buried under 2 feet of rubble. The accusation is that the rebels are gassing people with children. Okay. Apparently in Duma, the claim is that in this block of flats, this building with, I don't know, couple dozen apartments, that only 4 or 5 apartments were affected by the gas. Parents were knocked out. They wake up somewhere else and their children are no longer with them.
That sounds like a horror movie.
It sounds like a horror movie. Exactly. That in the case of one family that this woman interviewed, that their 5 children disappeared. And this was actually from the chemical attack a year ago, the one that Trump responded to with missile attacks.
Right.
A family with 5 children, 6, I guess, but the oldest daughter was staying with friends. Family, the mother and father basically smelled something funny and immediately knocked out. Awoke to find that their 5 youngest children were all missing. They've never seen them again. They did get a picture of the 3 girls, said that they had died, succumbed to the gas that was used in the attack. But they were not allowed to see them again. They were just told they've been buried in the cemetery. Never saw the boys again. What is being claimed is that the rebels are knocking out people with children, abducting the children, and then anesthetizing the children or killing them outright.
So who's making that claim again?
The government, the government in Damascus.
So Assad.
Assad, right. And that the rebels are then staging.
Who is being supported by Russia.
Who's being supported by Russia. So again, we've got, information war. But a BBC journalist did show video on his Twitter feed and photos of rebels bringing children out of a building and then staging them for photo ops. There was a picture that went viral after the attack in Duma last week of a little girl and a little boy staged in sort of what looks like a last hug pose. Look, they died in each other's arms. And of course, a photo like that tears at your heart if you're a parent.
Yeah,
it does. But the point that this BBC journalist was making was this is not where the children died. They were pulled out of wherever they had died and moved here. So then the question is, well, how do we know that they died in that building? Because, again, what's being claimed by this independent journalist and the Assad government is that we're not killing these children. We are not using gas. There is no benefit to us in gassing and using chemical weapons against our own people.
Right.
So if they're being used at all, the claim is that it's the rebels who are doing it as a false flag to bring the weight of world opinion against Assad and to bring the United States and its allies into their rebellion on their side against Assad, because the rebels are just about done. They've lost.
Trust me, the last thing you want is Russia, the United States, and Great Britain going to war on your soil.
Yeah, but the rebels, they're okay with that apparently, as long as it's Assad getting knocked out. I mean, yeah, I know it's insane. It's like the old saying, when elephants fight, it's the ants who get trampled.
Yeah.
Well, now here's the other thing, though. A lot of Trump supporters, Alex Jones said something to the effect of Trump is, defecating all over us. But we don't know the kind of pressure that Trump is under.
No.
This may have been the best middle ground that he could navigate. And there is somebody who's speculated and said, it's possible that what's going on here is that the chemical weapons buildings that were hit in this missile attack were actually being used by the rebels. And remember, the rebels in Syria only exist because of the support from the United States, NATO, Saudi Arabia, and its allies.
Right.
We created
because
ISIS.
We wanted to take down Assad.
Right. So it's possible that these chemical weapons stockpiles that were just destroyed assuming that that's actually what happened. We're making a lot of assumptions here. It's possible that what we did in this strike, what Trump did in this strike, was just eliminate those chemicals, take that off the table. Mm-hmm. Because it doesn't appear that there was much collateral damage in the way of residential neighborhood. True. And in fact, I did see a tweet from somebody on the ground in Syria said it's really strange to have your capital city attacked by the leading power in the world, the United States, and people out in the streets celebrating afterwards. Hey, we didn't die. We're still here. Our anti-aircraft, our anti-missile batteries worked. But it's possible it's because they weren't being targeted.
Yeah.
That the target was actually not quite what we've been told. Again, this is an information war, and we're only working with the information that has been allowed to get out. So it's possible that what Trump did was basically eliminate the chemical weapons so that we don't see more false flag attacks like the one that took place last week.
Well, that could be true. By the way, I looked up the Syrian Civil War organization. Mm-hmm. The White Helmets is what they're sort of colloquially called. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the funding, Mayday Rescue Foundation is one of the biggest funders, and that is sort of an umbrella group that's funded by many Western countries, but not just Great Britain and the United States. It's also funded by Japan and Denmark. And as you say, lots of NATO countries. It's Canada.
Yeah. It's a Western...
Which is surprising.
NGO, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And if you're not familiar with a non-governmental organization, NGO sounds pretty innocuous. Oh, look, they're not a government organization. But oftentimes these are really just cutouts for the government.
Extensions of the government, like the National Endowment for Democracy and the International Republican Institute here in the United States.
And there are some countries, Russia at various times, that will not allow NGOs in their borders.
Yeah. Well, Putin has kicked most of the NGOs operating in Russia out of the country because he's not stupid. He knows that they're essentially extensions of Western influence. Our NGOs on the ground basically led to the rebellion, the coup in Ukraine in 2014. Mm-hmm. So, no, it's possible. It's even possible. Because
that was a pretty color revolution. It was color. We were spreading joy and color all over
Oranges
the place.
everywhere. Vitamin C for all. It's Trump and Putin are both pretty sharp. Putin is shrewd. Trump, in order to navigate the world of business that he has for years, is also pretty shrewd. Maybe not as experienced in the ways of using behind-the-scenes power like the old KGB officer Putin, but still, he's no dummy. And they understand that they've got certain constituencies at home that they have to please in order to remain in power and be able to affect anything.
You got to please that constituency.
That's right. And some of those
brother or war out there.
Exactly. And some of those constituents may be the type of people who are not beyond making your family pay if you make a decision that they don't like.
Yeah, that's true.
So it is possible that what happened on Friday, and again, maybe I'm giving the president more credit than he deserves. I don't know.
Well, it's a difficult job, so I think give him a benefit of the doubt.
That Trump and Putin basically through back channels agreed to this because we've not seen a response from Russia, which they were threatening.
Oh, well, there's been sort of a half-hearted, next time we'll
rattle
get
some
you.
sabers. Yeah, exactly. But they were threatening, said, when these missiles fly, we will not only shoot down the missiles, we will take out the places from which they were launched.
But they didn't. So it's possible that what has happened behind the scenes is that Trump, and I'm not the only one, in fact, this thought was not original to me. This is something I've pulled from a variety of sources on the web, that Trump and Putin behind the scenes basically said, okay, look, let's do this. Let's hit these places where these weapons are being stored and perhaps being snuck out of the building by people friendly to the rebels so that they can be used again. So we'll destroy those. We'll claim victory. You can claim victory because we didn't actually destroy, Damascus and turn it into a heap of rubble like Isaiah 19 prophesied. And everybody gets to claim victory. And the net result is that the rebels don't have these horrible, horrible chemicals at their disposal anymore. Mm-hmm. So again, maybe that's what happened. We don't know. Well, I guess more and more we'll find out more as the Monday and Tuesday news start
You're saying that Alex Jones and Ann Coulter may have overreacted a bit.
Well, yeah. Imagine that. Imagine that.
I am shocked to find gambling in this establishment.
Well, here's the thing. I look for in the next few days for China to jump up and down and say, hey, we're still here and we're still mad.
Yeah. Well, that's been an interesting thing, too, with China just sort of very quietly saying, oh, yeah, we do have a 25% tariff on your cars. Okay, we'll bring that down a bit. Yeah. So
look, we totally did the nose and the bumper and the, oh, yeah.
So, while that's going on, it's, there's a bunch of other stuff that we could get into. But, did we talk about the movie The Titan last week?
Yeah, I can't remember if we did or not. You and I were talking about with some people over at Skywatch in the cafeteria, and we were told, and I won't say who it was, but we were told that the movie was found to be quite disturbing, spiritually speaking. And you and I spent so much time watching it and complaining about the plot holes that it didn't have time to settle into our spiritual, radar.
Yeah. No, I don't think it was quite that. I mean, we were watching for the messaging, of course. And the messaging was really clear. The only way to save humanity is to become human 2.0. And
the only way to save humans is to stop being human.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
Pithier, too.
There's your soundbite.
So, no, I guess last week on P.I.D. Radio, we focused mostly on the chemical attack the night before. So anyway, that was the reason that the watching the movie The Titan, which was released on basically on Good Friday.
Yeah, I know. I found that really interesting because it was a savior sort of moment, a dying and rising God, you might say.
Yeah.
Because he was created to save the world, but he was all alone because he was the only one of his kind. And he's off on Titan flying around.
Yeah. But again, the odd thing was they were sending him to Titan, but the movie was called The Titan. And there's a shot at one point in the film where the scientist who created this process to genetically transform him into a new species had written in big red letters, Homo Titanus.
Oh, yes. Yes. I'm sorry, but he was creating a new God and he knew it.
He knew it.
And he didn't want to reveal that to the people, the government people funding it. Also, I'm so sorry, I sort of lost my...
Yeah, watch that film on Netflix, but...
It is, but I was just going to say, this is where I was thinking, now, before I forget, I'll come in again. The end of it is very similar to the opening to the film Prometheus, which is part of the Alien franchise.
Yeah. Sort of this lone savior sacrificing himself for the good of humanity.
Or somebody.
Or whatever the next species is going to be.
Yeah, that's just it. Creating the next species by dying.
Well, yeah, it's and that's why we write and talk about the transhumanist movement, because that's really what this is all about. I just thought it was funny too that the star of the film, whose name is going to escape me now, is
Titan.
Yeah, was the same Sam Worthington. Sam Worthington, who starred
Not Rockwell though.
No.
Quick before they kill the guy. That is one of my favorite films.
Oh, Galaxy Quest.
Yes.
Yeah. Sam Worthington, who starred in Clash of the Titans.
Oh, that's right. He did, didn't he?
He starred as Perseus. And here he is in The Titan.
Is that the one with Liam Neeson?
It is. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Release the Kraken.
Which takes us to the Sci Friday that we recorded on Thursday, and that was up for your consuming on Friday. That was a fun one to do because you and I have decided that rather than just talk about the news of the week on Sci Friday, which was the original, frankly, the original idea.
Yeah, sort of an outgrowth of the daily news updates at Skywatch
Yeah, exactly,
TV,
but look at science ones. We decided that in order to make it more evergreen, that we would talk about issues that, frankly, many people would love to know more about, but don't have time. It's the same reason that when people send me, lots of videos, can you watch this and tell me what you think of it? It's 3 hours, but,
boil it down to an email for me.
I know. My response is almost always, well, what's it about? Oh, I don't know. I saw the headline and it looked really interesting. Can you watch it and tell me your opinion? How about if you watch it and then tell me your opinion? Because I really don't have time to watch a 3 hour But even a 10-minute video sometimes.
It is flattering, and we are honored that people have that much respect, that they care what we think.
Very much so.
There is that. But both you and I find it's much more efficient to sit and read an article than it is to watch a video, especially because a lot of the videos that we get sent are promoting a certain point of view.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, when you tell a story visually, you can sway a viewer's opinion probably more effectively than you can through an article. But
I agree.
But if we're dealing with a scientific topic, I don't want you to show me, so look here at this and see how this disproves that. No, show me the data, show me the article, show me the evidence for it. A lot of videos are about as deep as your typical explainer video for a new product or something. And how do you know that hey, look, I want to see the sources. Show me the source material. Show me the research so that I know that you're just not making stuff up and putting together a nice looking video that's going to change my mind based on inaccurate.
It's a long commercial in some cases.
Right.
Commercial for a point of view. And you see that in pharmaceutical ads all the time.
Right.
You see this happy family that looks so healthy. And
yes. And
but
meanwhile,
in the meanwhile, you hear these horrendous side effects that are being read.
Death. Destruction.
But they're being read
End of the world
in a very nice voice.
Yes. Yeah.
And the side effects may be.
Yeah. But because people are seeing, families playing with balloons on a grass-covered hillside on a sunny day,
dogs running,
your mind doesn't accept the warnings. I mean, if you just read the warnings, like, wait a minute, this could cause worse conditions than what I'm suffering for. You'd never take the drug.
Well, that's the reason. One of the reasons I love to read a speech instead of watch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You actually get the content if you read the speech, and you'll see the flaws in the logic if you read the speech. But if you watch the speech,
caught up in the emotion,
done by someone who's really a powerful presenter,
right?
You get caught up in, the various standing ovations and all this.
Yeah.
Oh, they love him. It's so great. In the meantime, there's a producer over on the side saying, everybody stand up, applause here.
Yeah. Stand up, sit down, fight.
Yeah. Now everybody do the wave.
Yeah, but when it comes to dealing with the subjects we deal with, whether it's scientific or theological, because I've been reading a lot of academic papers over the last couple of years, and there are times when following the footnotes and then following the research in those footnotes is really, really helpful.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, you can also do that and then find out whether somebody's just making stuff up or drawing conclusions that aren't supported by the evidence.
And
you can't get that from a video.
No, you can't. And that's one thing that I was taught when I studied at Indiana University. Anytime we were putting together a new plan for research, we would say, okay, here's the question we're asking. Now, one of the assignments of grunts like myself, these graduate students that were nobodies, we would be given, here are the tasks. I want you to research this topic, this aspect of it, and see if it's been done previously. And if it has, then you read the article and you go 3 or 4 citations deep.
Okay.
I want to know everything that they found out and everything that the first guy cites. I want to know what they cited and the guy beyond that, what they cited. I want to see that this information is real.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just smiling and laughing here because I'm thinking of a paper that I was researching today, and I'm not going to name names because I don't want to embarrass anybody. But
okay, I wrote it.
It was a conclusion about the relationship between a couple of gods in the ancient Near East, and the paper basically said, "I am persuaded that ... Well, paper was written in 2004, and I contacted the author and said, well, I know this is your field of expertise. Do you still feel this way about this? And his response was, I don't remember. That was 15 years ago.
Well, that's the irony. You and I write all the time. And if you ask me a question about something, I wrote maybe even 6 months ago, because I've written so many hundreds of thousands of words since then, I might not remember it.
Exactly.
Besides, I don't know my name from day to day. Who are you? Oh gosh. Well, we're getting old.
But yeah, well, there is that. But praise God, He's given us curious minds and tools to try to use them in ways that we pray are productive and helpful. Because
Amen to that. Amen to that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the internet to connect, and I can't get it to.
It's been kind of off and on today. In fact, the iMac we're using here is connected through my phone. I finally gave up trying to use the interwebs. Well, this fella keeps turning up like a bad penny. The fellow who wrote the book about
Bad Penny Jones?
Yeah. Yeah. His mother named him well. David Mead, who wrote the book about Nibiru last year. And
April 23rd.
Yeah. So by the time you hear this, the world may just be mere moments away from being destroyed by Nibiru or Planet X.
Well, look, unless it's coming suddenly from another dimension, it cannot be in our solar system, because we would, even if you do not trust photos coming from government agencies, we'd notice something in the sky.
Yeah. He says it will appear on the sky on April 23rd. Now, bear in mind, he made this prediction last year in August, and then again for October.
Yeah,
and it didn't happen either one of those dates. So,
well, you know what? A clock that stops is right twice a day. So at some point, if he figures, if I just keep picking dates, somewhere along the line, I'll be right.
Except that the universe is set on a 24-hour clock, not 12-hour. And which means only once a day it's correct. And that happened in the year 3 BC. He's basically saying,
amen to that.
Revelation 12.
Oh, that's where he's getting this?
Woman clothed in the sun. Jupiter is sun, moon, and apparently Jupiter, which he says represents Jesus. You don't
get that in April. Virgo is not the sun is not rising in Virgo in April.
Well, there you go. See? But this was fulfilled. This was fulfilled back in the year 3 BC, probably, when Jesus was born. I mean, Revelation 12, the child born of the virgin, who's then caught up to heaven where he will rule with a rod of iron. That's already been fulfilled. So the only reason the media is even paying attention to this is because it's clickbait and it makes Christians look stupid.
Just a little bit of a left turn, sort of a bend. Okay, just a
gentle bend.
Gentle bend.
Slow down to 45.
There's a bear. Not gentle bend. Gentle bend. Go away. I've been researching all sorts of things for the Red Wing Saga, and one of the things I had to research this morning had to do with tarot cards. Now, I'm not a fan of those. I don't think that. I think that is divination, and that's just wrong. It's right out altogether. Mm-hmm. But because the Red Wing evil guys believe it in my books, I have to research that stuff. It goes along with the idea of P.I.D, peering into darkness, which is what you and I do. I discovered that there is a type of Russian pack of tarot cards. Most of the tarot cards you and I are familiar with are the Marseille cards, and they're French. Hence the word tarot. It's a French word. But these Russian cards are like comic books. It's a style known as Lubeck, and it's an illustrative style that teaches lessons and is very often evocative of Russian fairy tales. And that's what the pictures that are on these cards. So when you see like the Seven of Cups, which traditionally shows perhaps the Seven Temptations or whatever, but it's something that like they can be actual cups that are filled with temptations, or, you'll get this, or, when these cards are quote unquote read, they are so general. It's okay. If I've got somebody that is looking for a husband, I'll say, oh, I see by this card that this is coming to you, because these 7 possibilities on this card just about meet any desire you have. There's wealth, there's opportunity, there's advancement. But anyway, I found while I was looking this up that in Russia, beginning around the early 20th century, there was a move towards putting these into the church.
Really?
Yeah. Holy cards.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
History repeats itself.
Russia's 100 years ahead of us.
Yeah, we're just seeing those showing up here.
Yeah.
Christian tarot, so-called.
Yeah, Christian cards.
Where they're calling them destiny cards.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's still divination.
Yeah, and it is forbidden.
It is forbidden. But the mysticism of the old Eastern Orthodox Church, I think, led into that.
Sure, yeah. Looking for something more, signs and wonders. But again, you're seeing it in the United States today in the hyper-charismatic movement.
Yeah. Well, in my case, in the novel, it actually is a clue.
Excellent.
That helps the detective know where to go next.
Well, clever.
Yeah, well.
Nowadays, the cards have like the 9 of Putin, the 6 of Putin.
Look, there's Putin with Gentle Ben. He's riding Gentle Ben without a shirt. No, seriously, the bear is not wearing a shirt. Those pictures of Putin riding anything,
yeah.
I mean, a shark,
Tyrannosaur.
Oh, gosh, they are some of the funniest things. If you've never seen them online, you really need to look. They've taken an actual photograph of Vladimir Putin riding a horse with no shirt on and sort of photoshopped it onto anything and everything.
Yeah. I wonder if they've done one of him in the pose that Slim Pickens was on riding the bomb down from the B-52.
Probably. Oh, I'm sure they have. Yeah. The funny thing, well, I shouldn't say funny, the disturbing thing about the photographs from that time period, because it was when George W. Bush was in office. That was a big time where Putin was leading the group Nashi. They're sort of like Russian, Nazi youth.
Right. Yeah.
And they were all about him. Boy, he was their hero.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just a quick search. Is this picture of Putin riding a bear real? Yeah, it is.
Of course it is.
My favorite one is the one where he's on the cracker, the round cracker.
Oh yes, Putin on a Ritz. Yeah, it took me a while to figure that one out. I thought, why is he on a cracker?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What else is going on in the world? Because you do your 5 and 10 every day, so you pay more attention to, frankly, the news.
Yeah, there were a couple of things. There was a story that it's been around for a while, but we linked another story at skywatchtv.com this week. And by the way, the free mobile app for Skywatch TV, those news stories come right to your mobile device, so you can get them on your phone or your tablet, which is kind of a handy way to get these stories. Tom collates those, curates them, and he finds some really, really incredible stuff. The allegation that Pope Benedict was forced to resign, was compelled to, pressured to resign, maybe not forced is the right word, but pressured to resign by the West, had come up again. And there are some, this hasn't gotten as much play here in the United States because the media here loves Pope Francis. I mean, let's be honest. Francis is a much more conservative, or rather liberal theologian than Benedict was. Benedict was pretty conservative and not pro-Islam. So the allegation goes like this. The Obama administration didn't like Benedict's politics because he was extending an olive branch to the Russian Orthodox Church. There's our segue to Russia there.
Oh, yeah.
To help draw Russia back into the orbit of the EU. Basically, almost a northern hemispheric alliance where you've got the Western, so-called Western nations then adding Russia to the club. Well, the hawks here in the West, NATO, the United States, didn't want that, for one. Second, the liberals here in the West didn't like Benedict's conservative stance on matters of theology, especially where it concerned Islam and his stance on marriage. Mm-hmm. And so things began happening like scandals popping up in the church. This guy being in particular with the Vatican Bank. And, the Vatican Bank isn't exactly a clean organization, but when the SWIFT service was cut off to the Vatican Bank, that's how banks handle international transfers of funds. Mm-hmm. And when you've got a lot of tourists going to the Vatican Museum and buying stuff and wanting to put it on a charge card, and suddenly the Vatican Museum and the Vatican, gift shop,
we can't take your card.
Exactly. That cut off a huge source of revenue for the Vatican. So Benedict was pressured through that and a variety of other sources. And again, you find that it's really too long. We could do a whole program just on this.
Well, can I ask you,
when Benedict resigned, the very day after he resigned, suddenly the SWIFT service was turned back on.
That's called blackmail.
It is, yes.
Well, it sure
it is
sounds
what you would
like
call
That's
blackmail.
pressure.
But there's another story that came out of this that was really intriguing, and that is it was that a fellow who was put into place to control the Vatican's finances by Francis. It's a 5-year term. Began in 2015. He resigned last year after only 2 years. And it appears that he was pressured to resign because he began investigating allegations that about $1 million was donated by the Vatican to the Hillary Clinton presidential campaign, and that money had been diverted from Peter's Pence.
Oh, that's the alms box.
It is. It's a voluntary donation from Roman Catholics around the world to the Vatican to use to help the poor.
Yes.
But somehow $1 million was diverted to the Hillary Clinton campaign. And
oops.
Yeah, an Italian journalist who specializes in reporting on the Vatican speculated that very famous picture of Donald Trump standing there grinning next to an ashen-faced Pope Francis was that the Pope's demeanor may reflect the meeting that he had with Donald Trump, and that Trump may have asked the Pope about this. So what is this I hear about that $1 million you donated to the Hillary campaign? I mean, yeah. So anyway, it's.
Well, I was going to ask you what this whole Pope Benedict thing, is this related in any way to the Vatican Communications Department head who just resigned?
Don't know.
Dario Vigano just resigned over allegations that he doctored a letter sent by retired Pope Benedict XVI.
Yeah, don't know.
It was just accepted just about a week ago. The resignation.
Well, I know that a lot of conservatives, religious conservatives inside the Roman Catholic Church are not happy with Pope Francis. He's been moving away from, traditional church doctrine on a number of things. And then, of course, that statement he allegedly made, although the Vatican's trying to walk it back a few weeks ago about, well, there is no hell. Ooh, yeah. Except for all the parts in there where Jesus said that.
There is.
Yeah, lake of fire.
Yeah, he mentions hell a lot.
He does. He does. You really have to bend Scripture around quite a bit to try to get around it, but it appears that Pope Francis is very much on board, or at least very sympathetic to the idea of that Teilhard de Chardin put out there about the Omega point. We're all going to be one with Jesus someday, except for those who don't like Jesus, and they'll just cease to be. They no torment.
Speaking of the Omega point and transhumanism and this whole idea of a singularity, Tim Alberino is going to be coming into town tomorrow, and you and I get to record programs with him and with Tom Horn, well-known guy. Few people have heard of him, and he writes books. Did you know that he writes books? Tom and I get to speak at the conference in Branson in September, and that's what we're going to be talking about. And you and I will probably also talk with him about our planned trip to Rome and Sardinia.
Yeah, looking forward to that because, the section I just wrote in the book, the forthcoming book, deals with the practices of the Phoenicians and some of the places where they practiced this practice of slaughtering children to the old gods was on the island of Sardinia.
We're also going to be going to the Vatican. Do you think they'll let us in?
Probably. We may have to wear dark glasses so they don't recognize us.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. This card on that... You can't use this credit card here. Get out.
Well, it depends on, Steve Quayle. No, you're with him?
We know.
Get out.
Yeah, probably.
Get out. Well, the True Legends Conference is September 14th through the 16th at the Mansion Theater in Branson. Timothy Alberino, Tom Horn, Steve Quayle, Sharon, of course, as one of the featured speakers. Dr. Hugo de Garis, a world-renowned expert in artificial intelligence. David Knight from Infowars.com. And the registration is at Gen6, GENSIX.com. Now, we've been hearing from people from time to time because most of the conferences we've attended over the last, 7 years?
Yeah, are we that old?
Yeah. First one I think was 2010. I think the farthest east we've been, not counting the Orlando conference, was Canton, Ohio.
Oh, it was, wasn't it?
So people have been asking us, when are you coming to the East Coast? Well, the answer is August 9th.
Because we want to get out as soon as you do.
Exactly.
We need to find a place to go.
No-fly zone from Boston to Washington, D.C. August 9th through the 12th, we'll be on Long Island and I don't even know, Ronkonkoma, I think.
Ronkonkoma, I don't know.
Whatever, but that's where it is on Long Island. The Clarion, the information's at the website, hearthewatchmen.com. It's the Hear the Watchmen Conference. Lifting the Veil is the title of the conference. Henry Groover will be there. Rabbi Zev Parat will be coming back from Israel. So we can do kind of an after-action report there after we see him in Israel.
That's true.
Yeah.
And we get to go to Montauk.
Yes.
In fact, we've discussed that on Sci Friday. Montauk tales are all over the internet. And if you're not familiar with it, it's a place that is connected to the Philadelphia experiment. And it's discussed on the TV show Stranger Things.
Well, it inspired Stranger Things.
Well, yes.
Yeah. The facility there was supposedly modeled on what was going on inside Camp Hope.
Do they actually use Montauk, or do they call it something else?
No. It's actually in the series. It's set in Indiana.
Oh, that's right. A fictional Indiana town.
Yeah. Just happened to look sort of like a facility, sort of like Jefferson Proving Grounds. Sort of. Except with a medical facility. Yeah. So it was sort of like the state hospital there in Madison. Sort of.
Okay. Actually, not really, but yes. We're denying everything. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Say no more.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is all part of the package. Well, actually, the trip to Montauk is extra. But if you're interested in seeing where these things allegedly took place, worth it just to say you've been there.
If you're there anyway, you may as well go, especially if you do not live in the area. I'm looking forward to it. The only other time I've ever been to New York was to go through the airport. I saw very little of New York.
Yeah.
At JFK. Trust me, it just wasn't the same.
I went to Newark once just to visit a radio station. A guy that I knew there was on the air at Z100 in New York back in the day. So that was as close as I got with Newark.
Yeah.
So.
By the way, in October, we're going to be in Gettysburg.
That's a bucket list thing.
Oh, I know. Me too.
I am looking forward to seeing the battlefield.
I'll probably cry.
I will. I'm sure I will too. Because there are some aspects of that battle, and you just think how many young men were sacrificed on that day in that battle. And I don't mean that sacrifice to, pagan gods or anything like that, but
sacrificed their lives
for what they believed in. And that's the East Coast Prophecy Conference. Our friends at Southwest Radio Church are putting this together. Dr. Larry Spargimino, Dr. Bob Glaze, and Tom Horn will be one of the featured speakers.
I know, and Joe Horn is going to be there too. Yeah. It's going to be Skywatch Crazyville.
Stephen Strang will also be there, one of the featured speakers.
Oh, I love Steve Strang. Well, Southwest, East, every direction, but North is in there.
Well, North is bad. We don't want to go. North is bad.
Sides of the North, we're staying away from that.
Yeah, uttermost heights of the North, we're avoiding that. That's right.
But we love our Canadian friends, despite that.
Yeah, yes.
And if you can ride Gentle Ben while you're up. Oh, I think I'm too tired.
Well, yeah, it's been a long day. You've been awake.
I've been awake since about 1:45, and I got up around 3.
Yeah. Well, I know I was still asleep when you got up. So.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's what's coming up, and you'll find information on
asleep?
that conference.
I was going to say, you were asleep and you noticed I got up, or you just
No, because I just rolled over at one point. It's like, oh, okay.
Oh, well.
SWRC.com, Southwest Radio Church, SWRC.com for that conference. I think that's about it. I guess I had a kicker story, but does
it beat Gentle Ben or Putin on a Ritz?
No, it doesn't really. I mean, it's kind of the thing you'd sort of, California. Well, what do you expect?
Yeah. Oh, look, there are so many California kickers out there. It's like spoiled for choice.
Come out of her, my people.
Yeah,
that's all we can say.
Amen to that.
Well, give us a like on Facebook at iTunes. Please leave us a review there, or at Stitcher, Spreaker, or wherever fine podcasts are sold. And until next time, I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening. P.I.D. Radio is a production of Gilbert House Ministries. The opening theme is adapted from The Alchemist's Tower by Kevin MacLeod, www.incompetech.com. The closing theme is Right Light by Joe Horn and Broken for Good. Find their album Right Where You Stand at Spotify and the iTunes Music Store. Our website is PIDradio.com, where you'll find the show notes, links to our personal websites, and links to connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. The content of this program is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution No Derivatives 4.0 International License. For more information, see creativecommons.org.
I woke up this morning with some aching in my head. Darkness could have stuck around and filled my day with dread, but it's gonna be alright. Gonna be just fine for me. Turning on the right light is gonna set me free. This life seems way too willing to try and knock me down. I just know there's a way I can turn it all around. It's gonna be alright. Gonna be just fine for me. Turning on the right light is gonna set me free.